to kind of help them to unwind towards the end of the day. So yes, and because they are usually either in the office, it started in the office a long time ago. It's just usually like some chair type yoga where we don't need any equipment. We're just able to sit, maybe push back from the desk a little bit and move our bodies.
I prefer that kind of yoga because you can do it anyway. When I get down on the ground, my dog, it's an invitation for my dog. But I want to respect your time, and I would like to officially start the interview. You ready?
I am ready.
All right. Welcome, Tonya. Thank you for meeting. Is it Tonya or Tanya? What would you like our audience to call you?
So it's Tonya. That's the correct way to say it, Tonya. I don't know where all these other variations of Tonya.
We in Texas, young lady, these things happen.
Tonya, Tonya.
Tonya, thank you for talking to our group today. I invited you on this. It's not a podcast, not a blog, but I invited you to this interview because you are a yogi. And I'm not very yoga versed, so please correct me. But I do know that yoga is instrumental for all athletes and for some of us women who are over 40. It helps with our everything. So I want to thank you again for coming on and tell us about what you do and how you do it.
So let me start by letting you know. So I have been practicing yoga probably for about 11 years. And after many years of showing up, and it started like in a gym setting. So for me, doing yoga was all about the workout, the physical exertion. But after years of showing up in yoga, in gyms, in yoga spaces, studios, where I didn't see a lot of representation, people who didn't look like me. That was kind of getting a little old. And so finally, I kind of made my way into a studio where I did see people that looked like me, that were teaching, that looked like me. So not just the participants, the teachers, the owners of the studio looked just like me. And so I guess from there, I kind of started to feel like, so maybe this is some place where I should be. And so after a while, I decided that I wanted to become a yoga instructor. Again, mainly because of, the need for representation. And I just really felt like, I know for me, when I can see the possibilities, it just makes it so much easier to like have a plan and to believe that like once I set out to do something that I can actually do it. So I've been teaching now. I did my yoga teacher training here in Austin, and I have been teaching now for a little over 4 years. And so I have taught
4 years?
4 years. 4 years I've been teaching. I struggle. I'm gonna be real transparent with you. I struggle with the routine every Tuesday, showing up for a class at a gym, because or even a studio. Like I really have struggled with that, because I think that in the yoga community, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of like doing away that whole notion of what the typical yogi should look like and should move like. And so I really prefer to teach in environments where I get to introduce yoga to people who may not have ever thought about doing yoga before. And so one of the places that I spent a lot of time teaching was the Communities for Recovery, which is in Austin. So on any given day that I was teaching, you never knew who was going to show up into the class. And I loved it. They were all like what I like to refer to as these nonconformists when it comes to yoga. And so I really enjoy teaching there. I've also taught locally at the like local gyms, the city of Round Rock. But what I really prefer to do is more private teaching and more small group teaching. Where again, because I think like in the smaller groups, more intimate group, where we know it's the same people showing up like every day for like 4 to 6 weeks. I just think it helps people to be a little more comfortable, especially people who've never practiced yoga before, and it just creates that inviting space and environment. So I'm not regularly teaching now, but I do teach like on special requests. So I like to do retreats. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I hope that answered your question.
You did actually. You opened up a whole new set of questions that just popped in my mind. Based on what you shared, there aren't a lot of Black yoga instructors. That's accurate?
I think that is extremely accurate. Extremely accurate. I mean, I think it's becoming more popular now among African Americans, and but yeah, it's absolutely like I can count like I pretty much, when I do decide to go to a studio, I have a home studio here in Austin that I will go to, that I had been going to for practice every now and then. For me, going to the yoga studio is more like a refresher training, or I don't know, it's just a way for me to learn something new. It's like continuing education when I show up into a yoga class. But I can count on one hand the number of students over the years that look like me, on one hand. And I mean, after years of going to this studio,
students and instructors?
Students only, no instructors, none. Now, now that I'm more involved in the yoga community, I'm more aware of a few that are here in this area, and even more so, like across the country, especially when it comes to retreats. So like I know people who like plan wellness retreats, and they'll be, they'll contact me saying, hey, can you do this yoga retreat for us? And if I can't, like, it took a while to be able to build a network of other black yogis that would take that on. So you are absolutely correct. It's very rare to see teachers that are Black, and I think for students though, I think it's becoming a little more common, but not much.
In your intro, you shared about what typical yogis should look like and non-conformist. Speak a little bit more on that. Here at Swim Bike Fun, we are all about body positivity and inclusiveness. And so we intentionally try to use language and imaging that's inviting. What does it mean if somebody is a yogi nonconformist, or what does the typical yogi person look like, or we think they should look like, or we usually think they should look like, but we're wrong?
Right. So I think this is definitely more so in like a Western culture. Like, I think that, and you tell me what you think, like, as well, because like I know for me, and I don't think that I think I can speak pretty much for the yoga community. When you think about your average yogi, you're thinking about someone who, just left their kids with the nanny, and they just slipped into, they arrive at a yoga studio where they're probably paying upwards of $25 or so per class. Mm-hmm. And slipping into like a girl size 14 yoga pants and like tank top that probably stops up here, because they're very comfortable, showing the body, their abs and and they're super thin, and they're super bendy and flexible, and they can take this left leg and wrap it around to touch the right clavicle. So like that's what I think people think of. It's this affluent, uh, generally an affluent white person woman who is super thin, super bendy, and super flexible.
And what's the reality?
And the reality is that when you walk into a studio, that's probably what you're going to see. But here's the thing about it. So through my own growth as a yogi, as a yogi, and as I kind of progressed in my teacher training, one of the things I learned is that there is no like ideal image of what a yogi should be, because it's just not. Yoga is just like a vessel, and you generally pour yourself into it. It's not the other way around, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm not saying that backwards, but yoga conforms to you. You don't conform to yoga. And so I think that even though that is the generally like the widely held notion of what a yogi is, it's really not. And so when I talk about a nonconformist, I'm talking about anything but that. I'm talking about the women with larger bodies that are showing up. One of my favorite students of all time was a gentleman who has cerebral palsy. And for him to show up week after week after week, and moving his body very confidently, no less, in a way where, and this is one of the things I always say when I teach a class, what you see me doing up here on the mat, this is just a suggestion. You take it and do with it whatever works for your body, because our bodies are different and they don't always move the same. So that's the one thing, is like this whole notion of what a yogi looks like and how a yogi moves. There's no one way that it should be. There's no should. In fact, in my teacher training, the one thing that my instructors always tried to tell us to remove from our language was the word should, because there is no should. It's just what is. There's no should.
Speaking of what, go ahead.
And then the other thing is just making it more accessible, making it more friendly. Like, because honestly, your average person can't afford to pay $25 for a class. And so that's another reason why, for me, it's always so much more rewarding when I have the opportunity to do things that are more community-based, which makes it more accessible to anybody that would like to show up. So I like to support agencies and organizations that offer yoga at an extremely reduced or donation-based price, or for free.
I got you.